Back again here with Mike Irwin. Another episode of Ask Mike coming your way. The big news coming out of the University of Arkansas, Mike, over the weekend. The tennis program, unfortunately, is no more. A very sad day. A lot of careers are lost. A lot of people professionally now have to kind of, punt on whatever they were doing, no longer being at the University of Arkansas. What are some of your best memories of what the tennis program stood for and, kind of leaving its mark on the athletic department?
Yeah, when I came here in '75, Frank Broyles had just got the basketball program going with hiring of Eddie Sutton. Then he hired a guy named Tom Pucci, who had a good reputation with tennis. But Pucci told him, he said, I can give you a winning program, but you're going to have to build me a facility because I can't recruit guys to come up here if there's no place for them to play in the winter. So that's when that tennis center was built, late 70s, early 80s, and it was a big deal when it happened. And Pucci had them rolling. They not only were winning in the Southwest Conference, they went to Georgia one year, had the #1 player in the country in Chip Hooper, and he was going to win a national championship. He was in the championship game, was up 2-0, and came down with cramps and couldn't finish, and that was a huge blow. But Pat Dewin and Peter Serrett and Pat Dewin, they won the doubles championship. And that was our first national championship in an individual sport like that because it turns individual when you don't go as a team. So they were good. And then Robert Cox came along and had them going after that. And the tennis program was going there for several years, but it just fell off. Yeah. And it never did draw a big crowd. Now, it just didn't. No, people like tennis. They like to play it. I don't know they like to show up and watch it that much.
There's a reason why they're called non-revenue sports. Mike, we got a show to do today, so I know the simple answer would be, well, I don't know, or have to wait and see. But if you had to guess, is this going to be the exception, what Arkansas is doing, or is this going to be the rule that a lot of these power programs are going to have to cut small Olympic sports because they need the money somewhere else?
I think he's opened the door. Yurachek has opened the doors for others to do it. Whether it goes beyond that, I don't know, because you'd have to change the rules. Right now, you think you have to have a minimum of, 16?
That is correct. If you have a football program, it's 16. Without a football program, it's 14.
Yeah, so they'd have to change the rules to eliminate more. But that could happen if they don't get this revenue sharing problem in hand.
Keep in mind, a lot of people lose sight of this. The NCAA isn't some independent governing body. They have to listen to their member institutions. So if a lot of these power conferences, power schools come to the program and say, hey, we can't do 16 sports anymore, naturally that is going to lead to a change. All right, anyways, more business at hand here. Ask Mike. First question this week coming up from Mills Palmer, who asked, why was there no TV for the red-white game? I didn't want to deal with parking issues and walk up that big hill to the stadium, but I would have watched on TV. Let me add this. 4 programs in the SEC did not even have a spring game, and as far as I understand, nobody had one available on television or streaming.
Yeah, I just think that's going away. To me, there are a lot of reasons not to do it. I think number one, you put that on even on ESPN3, an opposing coach can just set a timer and record it, flip it to an analyst at some point, and they know all about what you did in the spring. And I don't think coaches like that idea. They're not going to send somebody all the way to your campus to sit there and chart a game. So there's that. I think also, the crowds are such these days, and I don't know about other schools, but I do think it's down everywhere. I never realized this till this came up a few years ago. The university, the athletic department has to have insurance on the stadium for every game in case somebody's walking down the steps and falls and breaks their arm or whatever, and they are considered liable for that. So when you have a spring game like that, if you limit it to one side or maybe an end zone in one side, it lowers your insurance costs. So for this game, for instance, everybody had to sit either on the east side or the south side. There was nobody on the north or the west. Okay, you bring in the cameras and you start televising that, and it shows nobody's there. And people are going to go, it makes your program look cheesy. Mm-hmm. How exciting is that when you see nobody's even you're probably asking yourself, why am I bothering to watch this if nobody's there in person? So I think there's that. And then I also think there's this whole issue if you don't televise it, maybe there'll be a few people that want to see it that will go, okay, I guess I got to go watch it in person. But it's going away. It's not like this was unusual.
It seems like they are moving more towards the NFL model where they're probably going to maybe be forced to, quite frankly, by the conferences or by some kind of like larger NCAA rule to open up some practices to the public, and then you can go ahead and that will likely be your chance to see the team. Do you remember a time when, man, these spring games felt so big? To me, and I was here 15 years ago, real short window, I would assume Petrino's first spring game, if the weather cooperated, huge crowd. There was one of those years, I don't know, 11, 12, something like Tyler Wilson was still the quarterback. They got a massive crowd. A lot of the times it was predicated on weather. They had 45, 50,000 people on a nice day.
Yeah, the biggest one I ever remember was 30, but that was always, nobody knew for sure. They were estimating it. And Rick Schaefer would do that. He was the SID in those days, and he was well known for padding it a little bit. So, A&M used to brag because they'd have 70 or 80,000 for a spring game.
Alabama turned people away the year that Saban showed up. They completely sold out the building.
So there are some schools where it's been a big deal, but mostly I think it's been going away for 10 or 12 years now.
Well, and people are, I wouldn't say complaining about the crowd, but it's like, hey, if you guys aren't really going to show up, why are we going to continue to do this? If they opened up practices, do you think there's an avenue there for fans to do? I mean, I remember when training camp, fall camp, whatever you want to call it, was open, and it wasn't like they had 3,000 or 4,000 people there. They had about 500.
Well, if you did that, you'd have to have the practice in the stadium, not on your regular workout field. So if they were willing to do that, I guess. But again, you get into liability issues. The university has to pay insurance money for that. So I just think maybe they're going away. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, and as you said, they don't want to put things on tape. That's a big problem. But with the transfer portal closed,
I just don't think you learn that much from watching a spring game. I don't.
You learn how your guys match up against your own guys, not how they match up against other teams. Next question here coming from Hog Country Hog, who says, great job by the university with the car show and the concert. It was a tailgating type experience, but I went home after that, never went to the stadium, was told I did not miss much. You missed some sunshine and a beautiful day there, Hog Country
Yeah, I
Hog.
think there was a lot of that I was told by people that told you that, but they weren't at the game either. I think a lot of the opinions you're seeing on social media are from people that were not there. And they're basing it on maybe some numbers they've seen. Maybe some of these websites have charted the game or whatever. Look, number one, the way Silverfield did this, which is splitting the teams equally, that used to be done all the time. Mm-hmm. When I first came here, that's the way you had a red and a white, and you split it equally.
But your senior captains would be your captains, and they'd pick up the teams.
They'd pick the teams. At some point, they just stopped doing that. I don't know why. But I think in order to understand that as a fan, you have to understand your talent is split. You're not looking at the best of the best or whatever. And I personally believe if you're going there to see something fun, that's not the way to do it. That's the way Silverfield decided to do it. He didn't explain, as far as I know, why he decided that. But what that did was it puts both quarterbacks in a situation where neither one of them have an offensive line that will give you the kind of pass protection that you would get if it was a real game. So there are other formats you could use. One of the most entertaining is to put your number one offense and your number one defense on one team, like the red team, and put the other guys there and just let them run over them. And everybody's going, wow, look at that touchdown pass.
40-yard plays,
Look at that sack. Look at this. Look at that. And you walk away fun. I don't know that you've really seen much. You've gotten to look at what your team would look like if they played some bad team later on in the season, in the real season. And then the other way you can do that, and this is my favorite, is you put one offense versus one defense, because now you got good on good, and you come up with a formula where the defense can score points. And that's my favorite way of doing it. I've seen that done several times. I like it. But he decided to do it this way. And the bigger problem beyond that was that, and this is true of any spring game that I've ever watched, they're never going to get creative with their play calling. You're not going to see their playbook. You're going to see basic stuff. And when you're looking at basic stuff, and you got to understand, a defense has seen this offense, the basics of this offense, all spring long. Well, what are they going to do? They're basically going to stop you. And that's what happened in this. You'd get a first down, maybe sometimes a second first down, and then it bogs down, you got a punt. And it just went back and forth like that, and you ended up with a 21-20 game, which didn't excite a lot of people. So there were some things you could see, but again, if you're going there trying to get a good look and be entertained at the same time, it just doesn't work the way that you want it to.
Was there ever a time that you feel spring football at Arkansas trumped another sport. I think it was Bruce Pearl say this years ago, hey, when I got to Tennessee, maybe I get the example wrong, but just bear with me here. It was volunteer football. It was Lady Vols basketball and Pat Summitt. Then it was spring football.
Yeah.
Then it was us.
Oh, yeah.
Was there ever a time when, spring football was, hey, yeah, that was a bigger ticket than baseball?
When I first got
here. Bigger ticket than something else.
Yeah, when I first got here, it was football, basketball, and a little bit of tennis maybe. And then
how times have changed.
And then, Norm got baseball going, so that was interesting. And then the track team got going. But again, track team is something that people like to hear about, but they didn't show up a lot. It was a while before they got that Tyson Indoor Track Center. In fact, they put a track, John McDonald got mad, so they put a track inside the tennis center, and for a while they were running indoor meets in there. But yes, there was a time, absolutely, when it was football, basketball, and then spring football. It was the big three.
Not many schools still like that, but there are a couple out there. More to come here as we're talking Hog football coming up. Got to take our first time out here on Ask Mike. Back with more of your questions here on Ask Mike, brought to you yet again by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Please bet responsibly. Next up here, Hog Dogger wants to know, after the spring game, who do you think was the most impressive and what area needs the most improvement?
Individually, but I'm prejudiced. I've always been intrigued by Antonio Jordan because he's a 6'6" receiver with long arms, big hands.
Barely
can
got to
make
see him last year.
one-handed catches. Didn't play much last year because he was hurt. They didn't use him much in this game. I don't know why. He had 2 catches, but one of them was unbelievable. I was impressed with that. The Chris Marshall guy, the one from Boise that.
Correct. Not necessarily a great spring game, but reportedly has had a tremendous spring.
Yeah, he looked good on a couple, but he dropped a pass. And I think that people were going, what's that all about? He's supposed to be better than that. But he looked all right to me. Running back Cam Settles was the one that did it all. He had the most yardage, like 80 yards or whatever, in a touchdown. Here's the thing you notice when you watch them run the ball. There's no speed back on this team. There's not going to be a guy like Mike Washington that gouges you for 40. It's not going to happen. They're going to get 6 yards, 7 yards, 8 yards, and what happens with an offense like that, unless your offensive line can just roll over people, you're going to go get maybe a couple of first downs, and then you're going to have to punt. And that's what I saw in this game over and over again. 2 first downs, got a punt. First down, got a punt. This makes the defense look a lot better, and the defense did look better. The problem I've got with the defense looking better, how much of that was the offense being limited? No one quarterback had a good offensive line behind him. So it's hard to look at this stuff and know for sure. I know that the secondary only got beat badly once. That's encouraging. They had no penalties. That is big. I think that was one of the number one things that Ryan Silverfield said he wanted to do, was eliminate the fumbles. Well, there were no fumbles and just a few penalties. So I can remember offensive linemen jumping off sides left and right. The snap count seemed to always get screwed up. Now, some of that can be due to stadium noise, and you didn't have that here. So you got to take all of this with a grain of salt.
Have you heard anything on Sutton Smith? Transfer from Memphis, if you remember that game against Memphis when Sam Pittman was here after the Ole Miss game, he really hit them for some big plays. So if you're looking for that home run back, it could be Sutton Smith.
Yeah.
However, I don't know, injury or what the situation was, he appeared to be limited for whatever reason in terms of reps in the spring game.
I left him out, and he could. I've seen him.
He's a home run hitter.
I saw that in against Arkansas. He's more of a speed back.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have left him out, but I just didn't see him do anything.
He didn't. I don't know what the reason was, but he didn't do much.
So he's their one shot because I believe to be good, you've got to have somebody that can break off a 30 or 40-yard run if they get a hole.
And Sutton Smith, with his speed, is not expected to be some type of bell cow running back,
right,
but very dynamic. He can excel in the passing game. He can hit a home run, but probably, first, second down, more traditional back. You're looking at Cam Settles, Braylon Russell, Jasper Parker, some other name like that.
Exactly.
Next question here coming from Clark in Clarksville asks, what do you think about Hill, the Memphis transfer quarterback? I hear that Jackson has the edge right now, but there's something about Hill that I like. Not sure what, maybe his overall size. I favor big, tall QBs. Man, he is striking. He really stands out in the crowd. He's a big kid.
Yeah, he looks like more, I don't know what they list him at, but he looks more like 6'5" to me. He's almost as tall as Taylor Green. And he's physical. He's big. If you look at him, he's bigger than KJ Jackson.
He's got some meat on him.
But he looked unpolished. I didn't like his throwing motion. It seemed a little weird. He didn't complete even 50% of his passes. A couple of those were dropped, but he didn't throw it. The short pass, I thought he threw deep balls better than he did the short ones. And too many times he was throwing to somebody that wasn't open, it got knocked away. After watching that, I'm more convinced than ever that KJ Jackson will be the starter. And here's what I say about him. I haven't seen anything from him, including last year when he played some, that he's going to go out and beat an Alabama or he's going to beat a Georgia or beat a team like that. With him, you're not going to, I don't know that he's the difference maker in a big game like that. What he won't do is get you beat in a game that you should have won. Mississippi State, you got them, you could beat them, and then all of a sudden your quarterback fumbles or throws a bad interception or whatever. I don't think he will do that. So for that reason, I'm predicting they will win an SEC game, at least one, maybe two. But I don't think they're going to, I don't know. I don't see them going to a bowl game. We'll see.
Hey, if they win an SEC game or two, at least that's progress. At least
progress.
that's something. By the way, keep in mind 9 SEC games.
And their recruiting seems to be going good. So they do feel like it does look like these guys are very, very active in recruiting and inviting all these guys in to watch the spring game and then getting some commitments out of it.
So you say you're convinced that KJ Jackson will be the week 1 starter whenever they're out there here in September, August, whatever that date is. And I do agree with you. I'm pretty convinced that it's his job. However, it's not a lock here. So how do you feel about this idea that, when you look at the stats that they've put out, completion percentage, things like that, it is pretty even. So should it be a concern that, KJ hasn't separated himself, that it's still a competition?
No, rather than it being a concern, I think I feel better about the fact that you have a good, close number 2. Because as I've said so many times before, in the past, when Arkansas, a lot of times Arkansas hasn't had an adequate backup. So if the starter gets hurt, you're going to lose the game. It's over. Yeah. So if you've got a backup, either one of these guys, to me, looks like somebody that you're not going to automatically lose if they have to play. Now, it depends on the opponent. I don't think either one of them are going to beat Georgia next year. I don't know about A&M. It depends on how good A&M is. But I think they'll win an SEC game or two.
You never know. Anything's possible. If Indiana can win the national championship, damn it, Arkansas can win 7-8 games next year. It can happen. Next up here, Hi-Ho Silverfield says, a crowd like we had on Saturday is disrespectful to the players. I see this even at the crazy football colleges like Alabama and Tennessee. I think spring games are about to go away. Is it because of playing the players? But I would assume that you mean paying the players.
No, I don't think paying the players has anything to do with it. We've already discussed it. It's just more and more fans just look at it and go, what is that? It doesn't even seem like
it doesn't count for anything. It's
not like a real
football
game. I don't think they feel like they learn very much from it. They just, it depends on the weather more than as much as anything else. But if the weather's good, they still would rather go do something else than go sit in the sun at a football game. And they got lucky with that thing. It started to rain right when it was over. So the weather was good, and they had a decent crowd at the start from people coming in from the auto show and the concert. But I don't know if anybody estimated it, but it looked like a 4,500, 5,000 at the most to me. And I've seen much bigger than that before.
At least they tried, right? Yeah. Like, the university did try to get creative, and we've talked to Ryan leading up to this and asked him, hey, will there be a spring game? And he basically said, I'm speaking parenthetically here, if our fans want it, if they're going to show up for it, then we're going to do it. Mike, there has been some ideas, and I even see down here, the idea of maybe playing a different opponent, Arkansas State, UCA, sometime a 1AA game. Does that really have a shelf life to it? I feel like that'd give you a lift, but where
I don't know if they would ever do it or not. Coaches would probably say, well, you get somebody hurt in a game like that. But I think that's what fans would show up for. And this would be a great way to get Arkansas and Arkansas State to play, have it be a spring game. I guarantee you people would show up for that thing. You'd probably make a lot of money off of it. You could even charge money for it. I don't know if it would ever happen. I don't think you're going to get Alabama to play Auburn or somebody like that in the spring. But you might get Alabama to play South Alabama. You might get Arkansas to play, UCA or somebody like that. And I think it would be better than what we have now.
Yeah, one of the reasons that the coaches don't really love spring games, you were talking about guys getting hurt if they play another opponent. Well, they're worried about guys getting hurt just playing within their own team and their own framework of how they constitute it. So you bring in another opponent, and the risk of injury is even higher, and that's the number one thing they're looking to avoid. Next question here, H.L. McCamish asks, were you surprised by Taylon Green dropping to the 6th round of the draft? After his showing in the combine, I read that he might go as high as the 2nd round.
I don't think he dropped. Those projections of him being a 2nd rounder was idiotic. I mean, anybody that thought that was living on another planet.
Yeah, maybe if he was playing wide receiver.
I mean, the combine doesn't make that much difference. He went to the team he should go to. If ever there's a team that's going to give a quarterback a shot, it's the Browns, because they play everybody.
They might have too many QBs, though.
They might, but I think they'll look at all of them. Now, my prediction is that he's going to end up on a practice squad, because it's going to take a year or two for them to determine whether or not they can get him to the point where he doesn't make bad decisions. All this athleticism is great to look at, but it means nothing if he's going to throw an interception because he doesn't look and see that there's a cornerback right next to the guy you're throwing the ball to. Or if he's going to turn his back thinking he can circle around the defense. And in the NFL, some linebackers got almost as much speed as you do, no matter how fast you are. And when you turn your back and try to peel around the corner, he's going to sack you and you're going to fumble, and then you're in trouble. So he's got to eliminate that stuff. He's got to learn to play more conventionally. Move up in the pocket. If nobody's open, you can still, because of his quickness, he could still get 5, 6, 7 yards, and that's all they want in a situation like that. So maybe he can learn to do that stuff, and if he does, maybe he's got a future. He's got a good arm. He just doesn't see what's always there.
Decision-making isn't the best.
Right. So.
And I know publicly Taylon has said, I'm a quarterback. I believe in myself. I believe I can do it at the highest level. I'm not a wide receiver. I think he said that publicly.
He did.
Behind closed doors, I think it may have been more of a, I will do whatever it takes to make
hopefully he's got enough sense to do that.
It's a long shot
now look,
for him to make the Cleveland Browns, and here's why. No NFL team carries 4 quarterbacks.
Right.
They've got Deshaun Watson, Dylan Gabriel, who's the 3rd-round pick last year, Shedeur Sanders, who most people think will probably be the starter.
Okay.
So are you going to cut Sanders? Are you going to cut Deshaun Watson, which I believe they're finally to the point.
So what you're saying is he may get cut.
Or absolutely. Or, as I'm saying, behind closed doors, if he said, I'll do whatever it takes to have a career in the NFL,
could be.
Then they believe that he can play wide receiver. But Cleveland's not going to keep 4 quarterbacks on the 53-man roster. That's just not going to happen.
Now, as far as where these guys landed, I thought Mike Washington might go 3rd round. I didn't think 2nd round. Some people would say that. He ended up 4th. That's fine. He ends up in a good situation. I think this guy's going to play in the NFL. Why? Because he's a speed back who's physical. He's got good size, but he's fast. And his best quality, he has the ability he's the opposite of Taylon Green. He has a wide field of vision, and he can look and see where the blocks are, pick out a hole, start through it, and then you may find an initial hole, and here's a linebacker coming from the other side or a safety or somebody, and then he knows how to move again and again. We saw him just weave his way through defenses, and then suddenly there's that spurt, and he goes 30, 40 yards. I think he's a perfect NFL running back.
Have you seen a difference in the last, call it 5 years, of the way Razorback fans support players in the NFL? Look, if you win, no matter what the sport is, no matter how brief your time here, you win, they'll love you forever. They'll love you till the day you die. But Mike Washington played here for 12 games. Even Taylon Green, he played here for 2 years. I feel like there's now a big disconnect with these Arkansas players that go on to the pros. They're not followed like they used to be in the past.
Yeah, it's the same thing with one and dones in basketball. Doesn't quite have the same impact. But I will say this. They're a lot more interested in seeing you go 1st round than they are 4th or 5th round.
Darius Acuff, man, he's one of us.
Yeah.
He's going to be a top 5 pick.
So I think Mike Washington could be somebody some of the fans could get behind. The way that always works, though, is if he goes to your team. I mean, if you're a Raiders fan and you're a Razorback fan, you're going to love this.
I just feel like it's a little bit different from perspective of Darren McFadden, who played high school football in the state of Arkansas. 3 full years at Arkansas and a superstar. Even Felix Jones, who, not really far from Arkansas, growing up just barely outside the state. A pretty good career. Those were easier guys to follow. Anybody that has ties to the state now that that's kind of changed with the way
Yeah,
the
there
kids
is.
transfer.
There's less of that because of the way this all works now with the portal.
Some things change for the better. Some things can change for the worse. Not done just yet. We got a lot more to come here on Ask Mike after a quick timeout. Back with more of your questions here on Ask Mike, brought to you yet again by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Please bet responsibly. Next up here, Hog Redneck says, another disappointing NFL draft for the football team. Considering the state of the program, I guess we're used to it. It would be nice to occasionally land a first rounder. Who was the last first? Was it Traylon Burks? Is it the last first round pick they had in the NFL draft?
Might be.
Ragnow, a little bit before that.
It's been a while.
Could be somebody that's escaping me right now.
Considering how bad the team was, getting 4 drafted is not terrible. I mean, I think there were 21 teams that had 5 or more, so that puts Arkansas in a group of 4 other schools that had 4. So if you want to rank this, I guess they're tied for 22nd. In the number of guys in there, that doesn't, the way I would rate a draft is how many, where did they go? Not just the number of players you had in there. But look, you come close, you get a 4th rounder. Running backs don't go as high as they probably should anymore. I think that there's always a supply and demand thing. And there's so many good running backs that come out every year. I just think the NFL can afford to be choosy. I don't think they have to draft you as high. I don't think they have to pay you as much. But he's going to be a good player. And, again, if you're a Raiders fan, you're going to love it. If you don't like the Raiders, you probably won't care, or it'll make you angry. But it was a decent draft. It wasn't anything to get excited about. I didn't pay any attention to it. I just kept looking at my phone and seeing if anything was going to happen. And I wasn't very surprised by it. It pretty much went the way I thought it would.
Yeah, and I see some notes here you got in the NBA draft as well. Darius Acuff Jr. Hey, get excited for that one, right? He's probably going to be a top five pick.
Yeah,
baseball, we're constantly having top 10 picks.
If you want a first rounder, you got to go with basketball this year. Yeah, that's just the way it is.
More to come on basketball, by the way. Got a big time ad here. Malik Thomas and Billy Richmond. Maybe those guys are coming back. Next up, WooPig76 asks, when is U of A going to join the rest of the SEC in LED lighting? Other teams have LED lighting that can flash, do light shows for big plays. Not having update technology really makes Arkansas look behind the times. Mike, I feel like you may be against the LED lighting, but who am I to say? I feel like you're an old school guy. You like the church feel.
I'm not against it. I think it would be good, and I agree. It kind of makes you look behind the times, but what makes you look behind the times worse if you don't have enough money to support your tennis program? That makes you look even worse.
Or your football program for that matter.
I think as long as there are money issues because of what's going on right now, you're not going to see a lot of changes in facilities. There's a lot of things they need to do to Bud Walton Arena, and they're not doing it right now. That place needs new seats, just the seats that you sit in.
And more than that.
It needs a new heating and air conditioning system. It needs a wider concourse. They need to go around. When Jeff Long was here, he had a guy that came in and drew up some plans, and I saw it. And they were going to come underneath where you got the glass now, or the brick now, where it's just brick. He took the brick out, put some beams underneath that, and brought the floor out further, and you had glass there. And I thought it looked great. You could be on the concourse. You could walk around and see all over campus. It allowed you to put more concession stands in there. People weren't bumping into each other as much. If you've been to Bud Walton and it's full, one of those games where it's 19,000, you can't even really walk through the concourse. It's just jammed. So there's some things that need to be done to improve Bud Walton. So I think as long as all that stuff is not being done, I don't think you're going to see them going to LED lights.
You said something here that really makes me think. Mike, do these colleges know how good they had it? As you said, Jeff Long, and look at the facilities that he got built and the money that he raised and the end zone and the plans with Bud Walton and all that stuff. Keep in mind, colleges, public colleges, are supposed to be not for profit. We got football coaches making $6 million, basketball coaches making $8 million, building these $40, $50 million locker rooms, $50 million football ops centers, new basketball arenas, etc. That money's gone. Do they fully realize that they no longer have these endless funds that they used to have?
Well, that's why all of this happened in the first place, because the Supreme Court looked at all that and went, wait a minute. You're paying all these other guys all this money, and these athletes are getting scholarships.
And you're supposed to be not-for-profit.
That's what caused it. I don't think the Supreme Court intended it for it to get as crazy as it is. And I still believe, and people will argue with me on this, but I believe you should come up with a specific amount of money for each athlete that's on scholarship. I think if you're a volleyball player at Arkansas, you still should get the same amount as a football player. You're in college. You're not out in the real world. If you gave each one of them $3,000 or $4,000 a month, I mean, are you kidding me? You can buy your own car for that. You can get a car payment, a used car that'd be decent for maybe $600 or $700 a month in a car payment, and you'd still have $2,000 or $3,000, $4,000 to run around and spend it on other things. So I just don't like the idea that I'm in college, I'm supposed to be getting an education, but I'm going to get $3 million too.
Yeah, it's our big theme here. Everything's kind of tied back to the changing landscape in college sports and the tennis program being dropped. Are you afraid that maybe we're a lot further from those opportunities being afforded for volleyball players, track and field players, et cetera? Yeah. They're going to be completely eliminated because we're going to have to go all in.
I never thought they'd get around Title IX, but they may do it now because of this.
They might have to survive.
Yeah, because of all these court and lawsuits. Nothing apparently is more powerful than a player with an agent and a lawyer. That's apparently the most powerful thing there is right now.
Right, most powerful in sports, especially whenever the laws and the rules it's all unregulated. So there's really nothing opposed to it, and certainly more changes are expected to come here. Next up, Just Win asks, are we still spinning our tires on bringing in bigs for basketball? Time is running out. What's Cal up to?
Yeah, that clearly was submitted before Monday's news.
Big pickup, international kid.
On Monday, Mika Miranen, I guess is how you say it.
I've heard Miranen, Miranen, maybe. Finnish name, they're hard to pronounce.
Anyway.
And the kid's highlight tape is unbelievable.
Yeah, according to his agent, he is committed and he will sign. And I mean, there was all kinds of stuff yesterday all the way up. Oh, Louisville's going to get him, BYU's going to get him, Kentucky will get him. But the Razorback fans were pretty much adamant on there. We got him, and they turned out to be right. Here's the thing about this kid. He came over here and played his junior year at one of these academies. I can't remember the name.
A prep school of some kind.
Prep school thing. And came to Arkansas for a visit. Like maybe my senior year, I'll come here after my senior year. And so he came in for a visit. Then he decided to go back to Europe and play pro ball. So he ended up on a team from Croatia. He's from Finland, but he was on this team in Croatia. And my take on this guy was that here he is, what amounts to a college senior, and he's playing pro ball with guys that are 25 and 26 years old. And I think a lot of what he did, if you go look at his highlights, he'd steal the ball away from one of these guys and go down and dunk it. He'd turn around and get in their face. I think he was catching a lot of grief.
He's got some edge.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's where he got this reputation, I guess, of being a hothead. I'm not sure if it's deserved or not. I've talked to some people that know a little bit about him. They say, yes, he is. So it could be an issue, but they point out, and this was pointed out, I saw this on the internet. I talked to Courtney, and she said she had seen it, and then her dad, who used to be a college basketball coach, had heard it from some of his buddies, that Darius Acuff was considered a hothead. There was a lot of stuff going around last year when Arkansas signed him.
Some minor character concerns.
You're going to get a problem with this guy. And then he came in, and apparently Cal sat him down and said, you're not doing that here. You'll sit the bench. And he was never a problem. You'd never know it was a problem. So hopefully the same thing happens to this kid. There's a big mistake about who he is. I think people think he's being brought in to be a low post defender, but I think it's a big get. The only criticism I would say is, okay, here's another high school senior. He's a 5-star. I mean, bringing him in now puts Arkansas in they've got the #1 2026 signing class.
By some people, 4 5-star players. I mean, Torrey may be a 4-star, one of them.
Yeah, most one of them is a
4 5-star player, about that.
So they're #1. But that's still a high school. In the days of the portal, that doesn't mean what it used to mean. So, again, if Cal were here, I guess we could ask, hey, did you lose a bunch of portal guys and so you're having to resort to this? Is it going to hurt you? Well, we're not going to know until next basketball season whether it does or not.
And next question kind of ties into what we're talking about here. Cajun Hog wants to know, do we really want this kid from Finland? He's super talented, but supposed to be a locker room problem. Also, we need an enforcer down low. He's skinny. So this is what I was talking about tying into, the whole skinny thing. This kid is unbelievably skilled. This is not just a classic back to the basket post player. This is a top 15, top 20 player, whatever nationally by some of the metrics you go by, very likely going to have an NBA future. But what he's talking about here, the enforcer down low, he's too skinny. We wanted a power player.
That's what they were.
But that doesn't mean this kid sucks just because he's not what you wanted.
From what I've told, he was brought in as Brazil's replacement.
And the body type would match that, you
Yeah.
know, a close to 7-footer that can step outside and make shots.
He's supposedly just a slightly taller version of Brazil. He shoots from the outside. He can steal the ball and go down and dunk it. He can attack from the outside. You can lob it up to him. They don't stop him. He's quick. He can get the ball up on an alley-oop. So he's going to be that kind of player. They didn't bring him in to be the stopper down low. They've got to have somebody else do that. The question is who? Because, again, talking to some people, Bowser, who they brought, who is their one transfer portal guy, like he's not even being projected as a starter.
Yeah.
So who starts down low? Now this is where it gets interesting.
And they were after two guys, two big power post players. They didn't really want
And
them.
there's still a guy out there. His name escapes me. Yeah, these names go in one ear and out the other. But he's a class of 27 that may reclassify. Arkansas could get him. Supposedly it's down between BYU and Arkansas. But again, you've got another high school senior. So what's going on here? Who would be the starter? All right. Apparently this week, and it may not happen this week, but they're going to take it under advisement this week, this whole issue of the NCAA giving all athletes a straight 5 years to play for. To play five. You can play
no more redshirting.
That's right. You can play 5 years. If they pass that, then somebody like Ewan, who's sitting in the portal right now, he's immediately back eligible again. And I'm told that he could jump back in and become the starter down low. Now, you don't think of him as being a defender, but if he's got, I will say this about the kid they just got on Monday. He is a shot blocker. He's not somebody.
Much like Brazil was.
If you post up next to him, you can probably push him back. But he can block shots and he can rebound. So if you have two of those guys in there at one time, or even sometimes three, maybe you don't have to have the big 7 foot, 260-pound guy. I'm going to also say this, because I've watched this my whole life. I'm talking about trends. Every time somebody wins doing something a certain way, everybody starts doing it. Oh, we've got to do that. That's the new way of doing it. And then the next thing you know, somebody else comes along and wins another way. So what happens if next year, the national champion turns out to be a team with a 6'10" center
That shoots a bunch of threes.
and a bunch of guys out there shooting threes and guys that can dunk, you know? I mean, it could happen. And then all of a sudden because what happened as a result of what we've just seen, is a bunch of guys that were averaging 12 points a game got $3 and $4 million. Are you kidding me? Are you worth $3 or $4 million averaging 12 points a game because you got some rebounds?
Just because you're 260 pounds and 7 feet tall.
Yeah, so I don't know. I see this thing changing and being fluid. You know, it's not always going to be the same way. So we'll see. I'm always anxious to see what Cal's team looks like when he gets them together. If he does what he's typically done, they'll come in here, they'll start working out in the summer, we'll hear a few things, and then at some point, maybe late in the summer, maybe right after school starts, they'll let us go in and watch a workout.
Yeah.
And then we'll sit and watch and see what they're doing. But I can't wait to see how all this shapes out, because to be honest with you, that's the big thing right now is basketball. It is bigger than, right now, it's not bigger than football in terms of if football were good. But because football is in such a state of flux, people are really interested in basketball right now, and they're a little bit down on baseball. So This summer, a lot of people are going to be looking forward to basketball.
And because of how good basketball, not just, they're good now. They've been 5 Sweet 16s in the last 6 years, 2 Elite Eight trips. I mean, there's not many programs in the country that can match that.
You got a Hall of Fame coach. He's the only guy
coach too.
He's the only guy that's ever come in here as a Hall of Fame coach. There have been some that came here and became Hall of Fame. He came in here and he was already Hall of Fame. And that makes him different. And I'm telling you, he is a celebrity in Arkansas. People know him, they like him, and those Kentucky fans can make fun of him all they want. Arkansas fans don't care.
All right, more to come here on Ask Mike. We got to take a timeout. Back with Mike Irwin to wrap up this week's edition of Ask Mike. Ask Mike brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings, please bet responsibly. Next up, Hill Country Hog wants to know, did that loss to last place Missouri kill the Hogs' chances of hosting a regional? That's the talk, but why? They still won the series. Also, big-time win, beating Missouri State. That's a tournament team they knocked off on Tuesday.
Yeah, if they had gotten a sweep, they'd have been 3 games above 500 in SEC play. That would have meant 5th place tie this week instead of a 4-way tie for 6th. But if you win 2 or 3 there, then you could, by winning the remaining 3 series, you could get to 19-12 in SEC play. I'm just projecting. What that would mean, 19-12 gets you a top 8 national seed, which means you not only host, but you host a super regional if you win your regional. What's likely to happen now, I can project if they win the remaining series that they play, they would end up 17-13. That won't get you a super regional, but it may get you a regional. You could be a 14 seed in hosting, something like that. So they probably lost their chance to host a regional, super regional. If they win their regional, they'd have to go on the road and play somebody else's super regional. But I don't know if they'll get that far. There's another question that has a lot to do with that.
I think if they win their final 3 series, basically all against tournament teams, take 2 or 3 from Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Kentucky, they're going to be right there, right on the cusp of hosting a regional. Next up, WV Hog fan asks, until we come up with a 3rd starter, do you think it's going to be extremely difficult winning whatever regional we go to?
Yeah, it's tough. They've got about 5 or 6 guys they can depend on. Okay, the first, you got a starter. You got a starter that you can win with on the first game. You got a starter you can win on the second game, and you've got some relievers that are pretty good. But once you get to game 3, who's the starter? I can understand why they started who they started. I mean, who else are you going to start? And then if Colin Fisher is out in the 1st or 2nd inning, where do you go from there? Mm-hmm. And here's the problem. I don't care whether you're at somebody else's regional, your regional. I don't care whether you're a 2 seed, a 3 seed, or a 1 seed. You cannot lose that 3rd game, because then what happens? You've got to play another game, and then what do? Because you just don't have a pitching staff beyond about 2 games. And I don't see this team advancing anywhere. I think they'll host, but I think there's very likely they would lose their own regional.
So you think their opening weekend they're not making it out of this year? If you had to guess right now.
I just don't think they can do it, because they're not going to win 3 straight games. That gets them to a 4th game, and once you get into a 4th game, you got a bigger problem than you had in the 3rd game.
Yeah, pitching's been very inconsistent, and unfortunately, that was supposed to be the strength of the team. Next up here, Mousetown says, please don't compliment Keoaloy anymore. Every time you tell us he solved his hitting problems, he goes backwards, putting a jinx on him.
Yeah, probably. He actually wasn't that bad in this series. I think in game 1, he was 0 for 3, but he did have a walk and he scored a run, so that's not terrible. Game 2, he didn't play the whole game. Dave Van Horn pulled him, so I think he went 0 for 2 and he had 1 strikeout. So he struck out twice in 2 games. That's better than what he's been doing. But he didn't apparently perform to a point which kept him from, he got pulled in I think the 6th inning of the 2nd game, and then he didn't play at all in the 3rd game. So clearly Van Horn's back down on him again. So yes, I will abide by your wishes. From now on, if Aloy does something worth mentioning, I will mention it, but I will not project it beyond that.
Next up here, Parallax Pig wants to know, how close is HY to implementing a ticket surcharge on sold-out sports like men's basketball and baseball? The money raised would be used exclusively by those 2 programs. It's being done at other schools.
Yeah, I asked over at the U of A. I haven't gotten an answer on that yet. I haven't personally heard of that. Sounds like another way to make money. If the U of A decides it's something they could do to make money, they would probably institute it. I think the thing that makes that attractive is that you put that surcharge on for those football and basketball games, you know the money's going back to football and basketball. And I think there are fans that would accept that. I don't think they would like the idea, you're putting a surcharge on my ticket price so that we can fund women's basketball. I don't think they would like that.
Final question of the week here coming from Pig's Feet, who wants to know, what is your take on the U of A ending the tennis program? We've talked about this quite a bit here today, Mike.
Yeah, again, it's unfortunate. I don't like it. I have good memories of covering that tennis program back when they were better, but I admit that I haven't been to a tennis match and I don't know when, because the program went downhill and there was no interest in it.
And it's at the college level, it's just not much of a spectator sport.
Now again, supposedly Robert Cox is talking with Juracek on Monday and trying to get him to change his mind. I got a notice on my Facebook asking me to join a group to help save Razorback tennis. So that's apparently out there. They're apparently trying to come up with money to be contributed. I don't think it will work. I would like to see the tennis program continue, but I will say that if it doesn't continue, I think within a matter of weeks, people will forget about it. There's just too many other priorities around here right now.
Yeah, as naturally, it wasn't really talked about much in the
It's
past.
sad.
That's kind of why it's been overlooked, and it will be overlooked.
If the program were as good as it used to be, there would be a difference. But it's gone downhill. That's the problem right now.
Was this the program in the Southwest Conference in the 80s?
Well, they were close. They were up there. I'd have to go back and look and see how they did. But when you can get to nationals, they really should have had 3 players win national championship. Dewey and Sarah won the doubles, a national title, and Chip Hooper would have won if he hadn't had the cramps. So yeah, and they had some good programs. They had a coach after that had the program going pretty good, but then he brought a guy in from Australia that used his brother's transcript because he didn't have the academic background to get into the U of A, and then he got turned in. Apparently when he was flying on a plane over, he told some guy from SMU or some who was going to SMU to play tennis, and he told the guy this. The guy promptly told the football coaches at SMU, and they turned Arkansas in, and they had used this guy as a kicker, and it got the football program in trouble, and Frank went, and he fired the tennis coach. So all kinds of things started happening that kind of reduced tennis in importance. But it's sad to see something that was good at one time not being relevant anymore.
Yeah, it's an overriding theme here. It's sad anytime people lose opportunities, people are going to lose their jobs with this, but the unfortunate reality is we live in a changing landscape in college sports. So because of that, things are going to have to change.
There's so many bigger problems right now than that. I mean, it's just like the guy talking about the LED lights. Yeah, okay, that's an issue. It's nothing compared to some of the problems this school is facing right now that have to be solved.
Well, and let's be honest too. If you went around and you polled like pretty diehard Razorback fans, you said, hey, we got to get rid of the tennis program at the expense of making football better. I think people would be for that, but I think they'd want to know, well, how much better is the football program going to be?
A lot of skepticism about that.
Like, yeah, well, okay, so you throw another $2 million at football. What's that really get us?
Yep.
People want the cause and effect. All right, he's Mike Irwin. That's it for this edition of Ask Mike.